It's been a few weeks since the release of World of Warcraft Dragonflight, and so far, players seem to be enjoying it quite a bit. Whether you're a new player or a returning fan looking to get back into the action, leveling a character can feel like a daunting task. In today's video, we'll go over just how long it takes to reach level 70. So let's dive right in. First off, just how long does it take to reach level 70? Let's cut right to the chase. Getting a character to level 70 will definitely require a bit of time, but for the most part, it comes down to how well acquainted you are with the game already, and if it's your first rodeo in the Dragon Isles, or if you're leveling an alt. Generally, it can take anywhere between 2 to 15 hours to reach level 70 in Dragonflight. There's quite a big gap between those two estimates, and for good reason. The 2-hour estimate is based on dungeon speedrunners. With an efficient group of people who are skilled at doing dungeons over and over again, it won't take you more than a few hours to get to 70 from level 60. It's possible to follow exactly what they are doing and achieve similar results, but doing so will require other people who are equally skilled and want to forsake the usual leveling route for the speedrun tactic instead. Because of this, it's more realistic to say that players, especially those returning after a long break, will probably take anywhere between 10 to 15 hours to complete the Dragonflight leveling campaign. That might sound like a significant time investment just to get to the meat and potatoes of the expansion, but we think the leveling experience is fun enough that the time will just fly by. Plus, for returning players, it's probably a good idea to spend some time leveling to become acquainted with your class and all the different abilities you may have to use. Next, how long does it take to level from 1 to 60? It's worth it to keep in mind that the 10-hour average is really just how long it takes to get from 60 to 70. If you're a completely new player or are just looking to start a character from scratch, you'll have to begin your journey all the way from level 1. New players are sent to a special zone called Exile's Reach. This serves as a tutorial island that teaches them about all the different things that WoW has to offer. Exile's Reach should give them about 10 levels. After that, they're sent to the Battle for Azeroth campaign until they're level 60. The Battle for Azeroth campaign is of a similar length to the Dragonflight one, so you're looking at about an additional 10 to 15 hours, even more if you're a new player who's learning all the ropes. Things get a bit more interesting if you've already got a level 60 character on your account though. This is because you unlock the Chromie Time feature, which allows you to play through a bunch of different leveling campaigns from across WoW's history. This also includes Shadowlands, the expansion that was released before Dragonflight. It offers a lot more variety though. We highly suggest sticking to the newer expansions when dabbling with Chromie Time. The leveling quests in older expansions like Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King are significantly longer and more tiresome than their newer counterparts, though veteran players may still want to go back to these zones for a touch of nostalgia. Plus, how does the Dragonflight leveling campaign compare to previous expansions? Leveling in Dragonflight is going to be a smooth ride, especially when compared to past expansions. Much of this is because you'll have access to the expansion's main feature, dragon riding, right off the bat. On your first trip to the Dragon Isles, you'll gain access to your very own flying dragon a bit into the quests of the first zone, the Waking Shores. Unlike in past expansions, where flying had mostly been restricted until much later, this time, Blizzard has allowed you to take to the skies from the get-go. Not just that, they finally expanded the flying system in the game to be more than just swimming across the air. There's actual speed and momentum when you're flying around with your dragon. That alone is able to make the leveling in Dragonflight an incredibly fun experience that we think is worth trying out. As you explore the Dragon Isles and fly across the continent on your new dragon buddy, you can collect a bunch of tokens that are floating across the sky. These tokens allow you to upgrade your dragon riding even further, allowing you to stay in the sky for a long period of time. You also unlock new dragon riding abilities by completing the campaign, so it's something you should definitely look to do on at least one character. The best part about this feature is that any subsequent characters that you level from 60 to 70 will have all the dragon riding perks unlocked instantly, so there's no reason to ever walk on the ground like a peasant anymore. Not to mention, what other aspects of Dragonflight's leveling make it so great? Blizzard has really put the idea of player choice at the forefront when designing the Dragonflight campaign. The first time you're completing it, you'll have to do the zones in their proper order. This is what makes narrative sense, so we can see why the restriction is there. But any character that does the campaign afterward is free to do whichever zones they like. The order is also completely up to them. Plus, the best part is that these zones are brimming with side quests and other activities that you can do while questing to really spice up your experience and make it feel different each time. On our playthrough, our alt character was pretty much done with leveling after doing most of the Honoran Plains and about half of the Waking Shores and Azure Span. If you add dungeons and bonus objectives into the mix, you're straight up free to skip an entire zone while leveling. Though each of the zones are so amazingly designed this time that we really don't think players will have any that they'll want to skip this time around, even on alts. Gone are the cosmic and otherworldly sights of Shadowlands. Instead, Blizzard has opted for a classic fantasy route for Dragonflight's new zones, and we're really impressed. All 4 of the new zones are a breath of fresh air. Their large size makes them great for flying around at brisk speeds on your dragon. Plus, it's great to finally be back in Azeroth for a change, you know? Moving on, what are the best classes to level? This is always the first question new and returning players ask when they're coming back to WoW, and as we've said a million times before, usually there isn't a right or wrong answer as to what class is the definitive best. World of Warcraft offers such a wide range of playstyles across its classes that it all comes down to just what you're looking for as a player. If you like dishing out explosive fiery damage while still being able to freeze your foes or transform them into magical sheep, well, then you've got to try out Mage. Or maybe you're an edgy undead knight who wants to spread death and decay to your enemies. Well, the Death Knight is the way to go in that case. Ultimately, picking your WoW class is all about seeing how each class plays and deciding the kind of playstyle you'll want to go with. That said, here are some of our top picks for each of the main roles in the game. Starting off, here's a few of our picks for the best DPS classes. As far as good DPS goes, you can't really go wrong with Havoc Demon Hunter. The spec offers a bunch of great AoE capabilities while still having a decent amount of survivability and mobility. It's the kind of class that really just kind of does it all, which is why we think it'd be a good fit for people that are returning and want to get used to the game again. Windwalker Monk is also a good pick. For a DPS, the spec has some really great tanking abilities. Plus, like Havoc Demon Hunter, the class has a good area of effect capabilities. When you're a newer player without much gear, having more survivability can be a huge deal. Rogues are generally really great too. From all the specs, we think Outlaw is probably the one that's most impressive right now. Their evasiveness and high per target AoE damage make them a good pick for dungeons and leveling, though the other rogue specs aren't too far behind either. Finally, if you're a Feral Druid fan and have been waiting for the spec to be good, now might be your time to shine. Feral Druids are exceeding expectations at the moment. Their single target damage is quite good, though they're still a bit squishier than you'd like them to be. This is one of the few times Feral might actually be doing better than Balance. Plus, here's what we think of the healers. You can't really go wrong with any of the healers in Dragonflight, though it seems like Restoration Druid is probably one of the better choices. It has a great healing output and a diversified toolkit. Plus, with some strong CDs by their side, Resto Druids are definitely heading into Dragonflight with an advantage. Holy Paladins and Holy Priests are also pretty good considerations. The specs offer great utility and are generally high in efficiency too, though we've got to mention Mistweaver Monks too, because of their ability to dish out some great buffs. Finally, which tank classes are best to level? Protection Warriors seem to be having the time of their life in Dragonflight. The class has some insanely defensive abilities and their damage output isn't small by any means, though Blood Death Knights are also a close consideration. In one of our mythic dungeons, we had a Blood Death Knight outright solo the final boss after the entire rest of the party had already died. Other great options for tanking include Vengeance Demon Hunter, who have a great deal of self-healing, and Protection Paladins, who manage to dish out quite a bit of extra damage despite being tanks. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on World of Warcraft Dragonflight? Comment below, give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.